Have you ever thought of yourself as an aircraft modeler? Oh, I really want to go that next step. I want to either, on one side, I want to try something to super detail something or fix a kit that has a lot of issues. Or on the other side, you're like, oh, I want to cross over and try some real heavy duty weatherings and chipping and all those sort of effects, or I really want to, up my paint skills. And you're stuck in the rut. You don't know what to do. Can I suggest something? All right, try some science fiction. Okay, I'll get to the reasons why, and if you think, well, that's silly, science fiction's not real, it's fiction. I'm a scale modeler, I only deal in miniature depictions of reality. Well, if I can't convince you, that's fine, but if you're willing to just have a little listen, and let's talk about how you can improve your aircraft, your real aircraft, by doing some fictional stuff. You can basically divide the two sets of skills when making an aircraft model, and it's commonly called the primer divide. What you do before and after you apply primer. So let's use this approach when talking sci-fi models. First of all, building. If you want to increase your building skills, then sci-fi is a really great place to practice. Now we can run the gamut of fully scratch building entire craft. Here's a picture of John Everett's latest work, his epic 135 Republic gunship from the Star Wars prequels. To kit bashing. Kit bashing is making one kit or one subject out of two or more. Now let's have a look at this one. This is a F-15 Eagle, an Academy 148 scale, combined with a Revell Mosquito, also in 148 scale, which I've turned into, because the Mosquito, it beat me, and so did the F-15. I was starting out early trying to build stuff. Anyway, I thought, stuff it, I'll put them together and I'll kit bash and I'll make this sort of sci-fi type thing. And you can see I haven't done the best job in the world, but I've been able to slam the F-15 cockpit in there. Okay, and I've used parts to build, if we turn this over, instead of having propellers, we've got spare nozzles, and I've made jet engines. And here on the bottom, I've made a full rocket engine. That hole there is for the stand. Okay, this was good because it was able for me to practice my detailing and super detailing work and making parts out of nothing. Okay, because then I've been able to make something better, something on the real side, and here we are. This is an F-111 engine, alright, which I've detailed up. Okay. Now by practicing on sci-fi, by trying to work out, how does styrene bend, how can I make different diameters of cabling and pipe, and how can I get things to work, I was able to quite confidently put this together. Okay, and this is going to go on a display alongside a full-size, well not full-size, a 148 scale F-111. Now you can see this is Hasegawa's Falca or Falcon kit, which has an engine at the back, which has some rudimentary sort of cabling in here. So here's an example where this is a big size. Okay, this is actually a Colt bottle they've modelled it on. You can go to town and practice your wiring and your cabling effects here. And as you can see, there's almost nothing on this one. So that's another good reason to go into the sci-fi, give it a go, because if you make a mistake, it's not a mistake, it's fiction, it's whatever you want it to be. Talking about the other side of the primer divide, painting and weathering, the bit that I really enjoy. Let's say, for example, you want to do a heavily chipped late war, World War II Japanese aircraft, like a Zero or a Hayato or something like that, and you're a bit hesitant to really get into it and, chip the fuck out of it. So, what do? Turn to Bandai's Slave One. This is Boba Fett's spacecraft, very heavily chipped, multicolored chipping, and you really can't go wrong with this because, if you look at the picture of the thing in the movies, it was very heavily worn, so it's really, really good practice. It's also very helpful for doing a multi-layered chipped aircraft. Again, staying in Pacific War, think about a land-based Corsair, which had a lot of the reference photos and a lot of models that we see are chipped not on just down to bare metal, but down to the chrome rate primer. So there's the opportunity there to practice multi-laying chipping. Another kit, again, I keep pointing to this Hasegawa Falca, the Falcon. It's 1/20th scale. It's nice and big. Okay, there's my hand. It's a big palette for you with all these panels to practice that chipping. And in fact, they use it in one of the weathering magazines chipping issues as an example of how you can practice that chipping effect. But because there's so much area here, you can practice your worn effects with your paint, you can practice fading and all those other things that are necessary for heavily weathered real aircraft. Now, what about a natural metal finish? For example, bare metal or a gloss paint. You're a bit hesitant about trying that on a real thing? Well, get a Gundam kit, one of these weird Japanese standing robot sort of thingies. They go together in an afternoon or a day or a weekend. Very easy to do, don't have to worry about seam cleanup, that sort of thing. And because there's so much to them, there's arms and legs and exhaust nozzles and guns and so forth, you can really go to town practicing and doing completely different things that you would never do on an aircraft to get that natural metal look or a gloss paint look. Here's a picture of Herman Kopper's, one of his fantastic Bandai's, Bandai Gundam kits, and not only does it have a great gloss effect, but he's also got some pre-shading in there. So if you want to practice appropriate pre-shading, again, because there's so many levels to this, there's so many dimensions and what's involved, then you can really go to town and again practice. And if you overdo it, that's okay. You can come back and redo it, or leave it in because, you know, again, it's fictional. You don't have to worry about striving for perfect realism with this sort of stuff. There's a variety of other effects that you can also practice with sci-fi. Things like streaking and using oils. Now, funnily enough, I mean, this is not very realistic. This is Millennium Falcon from Star Wars, obviously. Okay, that's actually not realistic to science. That's why it's called science fiction, people. But what it gives you is the ability to practice these streaking effects. That was done using oils. Okay, really good for radial engines and other engines that leak a lot, and if you want to do heavy exhaust staining and so forth, or even cannon ejection port staining, here's a great way to practice. Get one of these kits. It's one of the best kits I've ever made. It's fantastic. The detail's amazing. And again, goes together in an afternoon, so you don't have to worry about building and getting to that stage, losing your mojo, and just get straight back into it. There's a plethora of sci-fi models out there, not just Star Wars or Gundam or all other types of things, and real space subjects as well for you to have a go at. It's not just aircraft modelers that can benefit from stepping sideways and trying out another genre. Armor modelers can get a lot out of it because there's a lot of techniques and things that apply also to armor, and vice versa. So I hope that you are somewhat convinced to give sci-fi a go, and until next time, happy modeling.